All right, so ready to peek into November 2024 in the markets.
Yeah, let's do it.
Today, we're diving deep into Jonathan Evans's predictions.
Oh, okay.
He's a financial forecasting expert with a really unique blend of techniques.
Interesting.
I'm talking Gann theory,
Uh-huh.
astrology,
Yeah.
like the whole 9 yards.
It's fascinating. Gann theory has been around for almost a century.
Right.
It uses geometry and numbers and cycles to try to forecast market movements.
Yeah.
Evans takes all that and then adds his own twists.
Interesting.
Things like active degrees and mass pressure charts, even planetary influences.
Planetary influence. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So let's start with the Dow Jones. What's Evans seeing for November?
He's predicting a bullish Dow,
Okay.
especially in the first 3 weeks leading right up to the U.S. elections on November 5th. And this is where it gets really interesting. He's linking this bullish trend to a potential Trump win.
Wait, so he's saying a Trump win would actually be good for the market.
He thinks it would be bullish for 2025.
Interesting. What's the logic there?
Now, whether or not you agree with his political analysis, the method is fascinating.
Okay.
He uses something called the square of 9.
Okay.
It's a Gann technique to pinpoint potential support and resistance levels.
Okay.
Imagine it like a map with key points that could either hold the market back or propel it forward.
I'm starting to see how this all fits together.
Yeah.
But how does he actually predict when these shifts will happen?
Well, that's where time by degree comes in.
Okay.
It's another Gann tool. It uses angles to forecast potential market turning points.
Gotcha.
Think of it like plotting the trajectory of a rocket.
Okay.
Those angles can tell you when it's likely to change direction.
So it's like looking for these hidden patterns and rhythms in the market?
Exactly.
Like patterns most of us wouldn't even notice.
Right. And he doesn't stop there.
Really?
He adds this whole other layer of analysis that's even more intriguing.
Okay, lay it on me.
It's called McWhirter's inflection points.
Inflection points. Okay, you're going to have to explain that one.
So these points are based on specific planetary alignments,
Okay.
and they highlight potential market turning points or periods of rapid price movement. Think of them as like potential flashpoints.
Interesting.
So things could get really volatile.
So it's like he's got this secret decoder ring for translating planetary movement into market predictions.
Right. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
He doesn't reveal all his secrets,
Oh, come on.
but he does give some examples from October
Okay.
where these dates seem to align with significant market activity.
So it makes you wonder if there's something more to these correlations.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely making me rethink everything I thought I knew about the markets.
I know, me too.
But we've been focusing on the U.S. so far. What about international markets? What's
Yeah.
happening down under in Australia, for example?
That's where things get even more interesting. Evans sees a potential disconnect between the U.S. and Australian markets this month, which suggests Aussie investors might want to be a little more cautious.
So even though the Dow might be soaring, Australia might be singing a different tune.
Exactly. He calls it inverted market cycles,
Inverted market cycle.
where the market actually might move in the opposite direction of the forecast,
Interesting.
but with the same intensity.
Huh.
Imagine it like a seesaw. One side goes up, the other has to go down.
So even if the overall forecast is bullish, Aussie investors might actually experience a bear market.
It's a possibility.
Wow.
And it really highlights the importance of looking at each global market individually.
Right, not just assuming they'll all follow the same trends.
Oh, wait.
Okay, that's something I'm definitely going to keep in mind. But tell me more about how he's applying Gann theory to the Australian market.
Okay.
Is it the same square of 9 approach?
He uses the square of 9,
Okay.
but focuses on unique 55-degree and 180-degree levels,
Interesting.
specifically for the Aussie market. Like he's fine-tuning the analysis to account for the dynamics of each market.
That's some seriously granular analysis.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more, right? Didn't you mention something about active degrees?
Yes, the active degrees.
Okay.
This is a brand new tool that Evans is testing.
Right.
Think of it as a daily guide to potential market direction, but powered by, wait for it, astrology.
Astrology. Okay, you've officially got my attention.
I know.
Right.
Tell me more.
These active degrees use planetary positions to suggest which way prices might move on specific days.
Really?
It's definitely unconventional,
Yeah.
but it just shows Evan's willingness to explore every possible angle.
All right, so we've covered the Dow, the Aussie market, and these fascinating tools like time by degree and active degrees. But let's talk about something a little more tangible, gold.
Oh, okay.
What's Evans' outlook on the precious metal?
He's incredibly bullish on gold,
Okay.
long term. all the way out to 2029.
Wow, that's a long-term prediction. What's fueling that optimism?
He uses something called a Mars seasonality chart.
Which, get this, links gold prices to the position of Mars in the zodiac.
Okay, time out. A Mars seasonality chart.
Yeah.
Now you're just messing with me, right?
No, I promise you this is real.
Okay.
He's mapped out how the price of gold has historically reacted as Mars moves through different signs.
Interesting.
Apparently, certain signs correlate with higher gold prices, while others seem to bring them down.
So where's Mars hanging out right now, and what does that mean for gold in November?
Mars is currently in Cancer,
Okay.
which is a positive sign for gold.
Okay.
But it's about to shift into Taurus and then back to Cancer in retrograde motion.
Oh, wow.
According to this chart, we might see gold prices weaken a bit in the coming weeks before strengthening again around January.
Interesting.
But remember, he's overall bullish on gold in the long run.
Right, so this is just a blip on the radar. But it's not just Mars affecting gold, right? Didn't he mention McWhorter's lunation levels?
You got a sharp memory.
Well, thank you.
Those levels are based on the lunar cycle. They suggest some potential downward pressure on gold prices in November as well.
So we've got Mars, the moon, and those active degrees all potentially influencing gold prices. It's like a celestial tug of war.
It is.
But we're not done yet, are we? What about Bitcoin? Everyone wants to know what's happening with crypto.
Right, and this one gets a little complicated.
Yeah.
While Evans generally expects the crypto market to rise in November,
Okay.
he also warns of a potential downturn
Uh-oh.
from mid-November to late December.
Okay, so a short-term rise followed by a potential drop. Why the mixed signals?
He's using multiple tools and they don't always agree.
Yeah.
While his overall analysis suggests a bullish trend, the active degrees, remember those planetary guides?
Yeah.
They're actually pointing towards falling prices.
So it's not a clear-cut prediction. It's
Okay.
like he's giving us all the pieces of the puzzle, but it's up to us to figure out how they fit together.
Exactly.
It's not about blind faith in any one indicator.
No.
It's about considering all the factors, weighing the probabilities, and ultimately making your own informed decisions.
I think that's a great point.
This is all seriously thought-provoking stuff. We've covered so much ground already,
I know.
from the Dow to gold, from GAN theory to planetary influences.
Right.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a moment to digest all this information
Okay.
and really unpack what it all means.
That was good.
We'll be back in a moment to explore some of the broader implications of what we've learned and leave you with a final thought to ponder.
All right. It's like he's saying, don't just look at the numbers, look at the bigger picture.
Right. He's encouraging us to consider these cycles and the patterns,
Yeah.
even the influences we might not be aware of. I mean, who thought to look at Mars
Right.
to forecast gold prices?
It's pretty wild.
It's pretty wild. So it really makes you wonder
Yeah.
if there are these forces shaping the market that we don't even understand.
It really does.
But let's try to connect all this back to our listener.
Okay.
What does it all mean for their portfolio? How can you actually use these insights to make informed decisions?
Yeah, that's the key question.
So let's start with the Dow.
Okay.
Evans is predicting a bullish November,
Uh-huh.
especially in those first 3 weeks leading up to the election.
Right.
And remember, he believes a Trump win could fuel further growth in 2025.
Exactly.
So for investors who are bullish on U.S. stocks, this could be a signal to stay the course or even increase their exposure.
Right.
But what about the risks?
Sure.
What could derail this bullish trend?
Well, there's always the possibility of unforeseen events.
Right.
Like geopolitical shocks or a change in investor sentiment.
Yeah.
And remember, this bullish prediction hinges on a Trump victory. If the election results are different, that could throw a wrench in the whole forecast.
So it's important to consider those what-ifs and have a plan in place.
Absolutely.
Now let's head down under to Australia.
Okay.
Evans sees a potential disconnect between the U.S. and Australian markets. He's even suggesting a more cautious approach for Aussie investors because of those inverted market cycles.
Right. Remember the seesaw analogy?
Yeah.
Even if the U.S. market is going up, the Australian market could be moving in the opposite direction
Right.
with the same intensity.
So for those with heavy investments in the Australian market, this might be a signal to diversify,
Yeah.
maybe shift some assets to other markets that are showing more strength.
It's all about balancing risk and opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it highlights the importance of not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
Now let's talk about something a little more sparkly.
Okay.
Gold.
All right.
Evans is super bullish on gold long term, all the way to 2029.
Yes.
That's a bold prediction.
Okay.
But he's not just relying on traditional analysis, is he?
No,
He's brought in Mars and even the moon into the equation.
yeah, that Mars seasonality chart suggests we might see some short-term weakness in gold prices as Mars moves through different signs.
Right.
And McWhirter's lunation levels are also suggesting downward pressure in November.
Okay. So even though the long-term outlook for gold is positive, there might be some bumps in the road in the short term.
Right.
What does this mean for investors who are already holding gold or thinking about adding it to their portfolio?
It might be an opportunity to buy the dip.
Oh, interesting.
If you believe in the long-term potential of gold, these short-term fluctuations could be a chance to accumulate more at a lower price.
Interesting. So it's all about understanding the cycles, both short-term and long-term.
Yes.
And using them to your advantage.
Exactly.
Now let's wrap up with Bitcoin.
Okay.
Evans is generally optimistic about the crypto market in November,
Uh-huh.
but warns of a potential downturn towards the end of the year.
Yeah, and remember, he's using those active degrees based on planetary positions to get a daily sense of market direction.
Right.
And those are actually suggesting falling prices, even though the overall forecast is bullish.
So it's like those active degrees are throwing a little shade on the otherwise sunny crypto forecast.
Right.
So how should investors navigate this uncertainty?
It comes back to risk tolerance.
Okay.
If you're a long-term believer in Bitcoin, these short-term fluctuations might not faze you, but if you're more risk-averse, you might want to consider taking some profits off the table.
Okay.
If the market does rally in November.
It's all about understanding your own investment style.
Yeah.
And making decisions that align with your goals.
I agree.
It's been incredible exploring these predictions with you.
Yeah, it has.
And I hope our listeners are feeling empowered to look at the markets in a whole new way.
Me too. Evan's approach, even if you don't subscribe to every aspect of it,
Right.
it really expands our thinking about what's possible.
It's been a wild ride, but we're not done yet.
I know.
We'll be back in a moment to explore some of the broader implications of what we've learned and leave you with a final thought to ponder.
Sounds good.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. Dow Jones, Australian markets, gold, Bitcoin, even those Mars seasonality charts and active degrees.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to take a step back and look at the bigger picture here.
Okay.
I think what's so fascinating about Jonathan Evans's approach is that it challenges how we think about markets.
Yeah.
He's not just crunching numbers and looking at trends. He's adding in these cyclical theories, even astrological influences.
It's like he's saying there's more to the markets than we see.
Right. Like there are these forces at play that traditional analysis might miss.
Exactly. And whether you believe in astrology or not, those correlations are intriguing.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if there's a deeper connection we're just starting to understand.
Right.
It's definitely food for thought. So it raises the question, if these cycles and patterns are real, does that mean the markets are predictable?
That's a great question. I don't think it's a simple answer. Even if these cycles exist, they're probably influenced by a lot of things. Economic data, political events, social trends, even human psychology.
It's complicated.
It's a complex web.
Yeah, so maybe it's not about predicting the future with certainty,
Right.
but understanding these forces and using them to make better decisions.
Yeah, like having a roadmap that shows you the potential terrain.
Right, but there might be detours along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that markets aren't always rational. They can be swayed by seemingly unrelated events or even, planetary alignments.
So it's about being adaptable,
Yes,
open to new information,
absolutely.
and willing to adjust your course as needed.
I think that's key.
So it's like embracing the uncertainty, even finding beauty in the chaos.
I love that.
As you go forward armed with these insights from Jonathan Evans, remember to keep an open mind, stay curious, and don't be afraid to challenge the conventional wisdom.
Yeah, great advice.
Who knows, you might discover your own hidden patterns in the market, and even if you don't, the exploration is a reward in itself.
I think that's a great way to end this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.